Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, guys. Coming to you today live from Sydney, and I have somebody very special joining us all the way from the USA in Texas. Now, before I do introduce this person, the whole premise of this chat through IPC, if you see me looking here, there, and everywhere, guys, we are filtered through IG Live down at the bottom. We're going through our community platform, as well as YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, the lot. So wherever you are finding us, make sure to share this video, watch the replay. If you want to get in touch with myself, the campaign, or the person that I'm introducing, all the links will be played out before. So as many of you know, with the Imperfectly Perfect campaign, several months ago, or should I say the start of the year, I came into connection with Kezia. Look at her. We got together and she does this incredible thing where she shares lady stories to the world through the Paid Forward Notes to My Younger Self. So we thought, how can we collectively come together and we can bring a collaborative project with our aims, with the mission that God had placed on both our hearts, and bring people together to collectively share their stories, utilize the platform of the IPC, get some celebrities involved, public figures, and get some incredible people who are willing to step up and pay it forward. So without further ado, one of those, and this is an incredible story, I can't wait for you to hear. We often have chats going backwards and forwards, but today I wanted to introduce everyone to yourself. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions in regards to getting involved with the project, what drew you, and the reason why. First of all, explain who you are, a little bit about yourself, just so our audience get to know you.
So I am Leighanne Hromcik. I'm from Texas. I am, it's always like, how do I identify myself? I used to always say I'm a single mom with 2 kids, but my kids are 23 and 20, so they're in college. And I have been an entrepreneur, I feel like my whole life, but really for the past 7 years. I've been working online, coaching, mentoring, and teaching and training other individuals how to start an online business globally, and how, all the advertising, the brand, everything that goes along with it. And although I loved it, and I do love it, there was something like gnawing at me. There was something inside that I kept feeling like I wanted to do something deeper that went further with people, because I love helping people, and I just felt like as time goes on and we get older, that there's just more substance, and there's something else there. And with the pandemic, I think everybody can look around and agree that there's a lot there, whether that's good or bad. And I just felt like I was drawn to do that.
Totally feeling when you were talking about that. I mean, the pandemic, I think, made everybody stop, look around, realize, and go internal rather than the external.
Right.
Was that what happened for yourself?
Absolutely. The lockdown happened, and I was literally home alone, just my dog and I. And it's like the noise stopped for the most part, because the world stopped, and it was for the very first time in my entire life. It's almost like I felt like there were rooms all up above that were dark my whole entire life. Like light bulbs literally were turning on here and there. I know that sounds pretty out there, but it's like I just became aware of different things, whether it's something that I was interested in, or my creative side was ignited again, or I just had a different perception, and it was wider. It was much more expansive. I mean, it was, I can't really explain it other than I got quiet. And that's not something that I've ever really known how to do, really my whole life.
I want to touch on that, because I love this aspect, because as I've got to know you, we're very similar in notion. It's go, go, go. On this entrepreneurial journey, whatever it is, your head's always full. So for everything to stop, I suppose that was a hard process in itself. Am I right? Because it was for me.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing is, it took a global crisis pandemic in order for me to stop. Not, just because maybe it's a good idea that I just slow down and take care of myself so I can reflect and turn inwards. And it was just like something big had to do it for me, if that makes sense.
It does. And I want to bring this in, because it's often conversations that we have, that when you learn to tap in and then you suddenly realize there's something more to this world than what we're indoctrinated into, a system of society and all this pressure, what we should be and what we should do. What was kind of your journey, even before we touch base towards the book and the incredible how it all happened with synergetic energy around it, but what was sort of your journey in a sense of you started noticing more spiritual nature? Or
yeah, so as far back as I can remember, I've just always kind of been a passionate, emotional, but not like emotional, I just have a very sensitive side, but going through life, it was like there was something lingering in the back of my mind, like there's something else I'm supposed to be doing, but I was, going along with just the norm in society and what you do, and it felt very surface. And then pandemic happened, and it was just like, I mean, expect the unexpected. I remember making a video about that because we certainly didn't expect that. And it shook me and it rattled me. And I had just been diagnosed a few months before that with a autoimmune, whatever. I don't even claim it. It's not mine, but and so it's just like all this going through my mind. And, it's one of those, I guess, wake up calls where it's like, okay, what really matters in life? I mean, what really matters in life? And the only thing that I could think of that mattered was, it's always my kids, always, but it just always comes back to love and connection, always. And it's not about, the money or the big house and the cars and this and that. It's about substance, it's about the internal for me.
it is. It's so the journey that I've walked on with this and the people that I've got to meet, should I say, including yourself, it's the same thing time and time again. It's you have to truly surrender to that process of knowing what we've been taught is not entirely true. And when you actually uncover a lot of it, which leads me on to our meeting, how we even got connected through such an incredible person. So I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, I like I said, I just been diagnosed with whatever that I don't claim, but I was having not one of my best days. And I just remember, and I will say this, since the pandemic, no matter how many connections or how friendly or whatever I am or was, there's just a sense of isolation. And that comes with working from home, being an entrepreneur, but this sense of just loneliness, isolation, so many things were broken when the pandemic occurred. And they never basically got fixed, which is probably a good thing because then there's room for growth. But it was just not a great day. I was on my phone searching for, so I was feeling a little alone. And I was searching for local groups here in Houston that were linked to Dr. Joe Dispenza, who there's not enough time for me to even articulate how I feel about him. Just absolutely amazing. So anyhow, and the algorithm, it does its thing. It recognizes, what you're looking at and blah, blah. And I'm kind of scrolling. I didn't even get to a local group. Let me just say that, because the first thing that I saw was Imperfectly Perfect Campaign, or Imperfectly Perfect. And I want to say the irony, but I don't, it is, but it isn't. The synchronicity about these past several years, 4-ish years, I've been talking about being imperfectly perfect and perfectly imperfect for years. It's just something I'm really passionate about. And it goes back to the way I was raised to be perfect, which we know that doesn't exist. So I see that and I'm like, what? It's all coming together sort of, but I didn't know what it was. I start binge watching the YouTube videos and listen to the podcast. And I literally, and I'm home alone, but my daughter's in school and so forth. And I'm starting to vacuum because I have nervous energy. I can't just sit. So I'm starting to vacuum and I'm listening. I do better absorbing things while I'm moving. And the next thing you know, I'm vacuuming the same spot over and over because I'm just listening to the podcast. And at some point, I went to the website. At one point, You could fill out your information for the newsletter, but there was somewhere in there that it was talking about sharing your story. And it was right when I saw that, it was like I just knew that I was supposed to share my story, whatever part of it, my story that is, because there's a lot, but it was like I just knew, and I was terrified. And I thought, well, perfect. I'm scared to death. That's exactly what I'm supposed to do, because that's where we grow, right? Out of our comfort zone. And, I've always been of the philosophy that if your goal or your vision doesn't make you shake, it's not big enough. So when I read that, I was like, okay, here we go. And then, things just continue. Everything just fell into place. Next thing you know, I'm
a co-author. It was amazing how it worked. It was almost a sense of when you told me that story, and then you actually came onto the summit that the IPC was rolling out, and we was introducing some of the co-authors from Kazia's previous volumes, and just listening to those ladies' stories. And then you reached out and said, can we have a conversation? And we did. And there were so many similarities between our stories and serendipitous moments. And then we got talking about Dr. Jodie Spencer. And then the conversation carried on and on. And he was like, I need to be a part of this. And
it was just, it was one of those where, when you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them forever. It was kind of one of those where like, oh, I get you. Yeah, I get it. I don't even know how long that Zoom was. It was much longer than it was planned for, I'm sure.
It was, but I agree with you. I think when you are brought into this place of, I'll call it surrender. I think there's something, I now say God, but when you get put into almost a place of that loneliness feeling, it is a sense of isolation, and the global pandemic put us all into it. But I think if you are prone to being of service to people, an empath, compassionate, you feel it a lot more and take on energy. And I think, or what I'll say is my experience was, God has clearly used that time, or spiritual universal law, whatever people believe in, and just gone, right, you, now is the time to uncover and realize who you are. And everything just starts flowing in alignment. And I suppose when you then came onto the book and got put through a 12-week process of it, what was that process like? Because you spoke about your mum, which you can share a little bit if you're happy to.
I am. I again, I mean, I knew what I was getting into, but I really didn't. And it's probably better that way. So I didn't overthink things and analyze it, because I do that too. And but I was still excited at the same time and intrigued. And there was one week. Well, we had different assignments each week so that we could piece things together in the most organized way. And I don't remember what the question was, believe it or not, that led me to what I was going to write about. I recall, I think, or I made this up in my head, that it was possibly about a moment in our lives that was the most transformational, impactful, difficult, hardest struggle we've ever had, something along those lines. And the first thing that came to my mind was my parents passing away. And I mean, they passed away in 2007, but it was the first thing that came to my mind, in my heart, because it's just the pain. I mean, it's gotten better, obviously, but it just, I don't know that ever completely goes away, but I just knew that that's what I was going to write about. And I didn't know how in the world I was going to make that happen, because I never talked about that. I didn't talk about like the details at all to anyone ever in my life or in the past 15 years. But I put it in the book. But yeah, I mean, nobody. So it was it was almost surreal writing a large part of it, because I remember exactly where I was sitting, what time I started, and then next thing you know, it's like 6 or 7 hours later, the sun's down and I'm still in the same clothes. I don't even think I got up, and I was just writing, and everything was flowing. But when I read back over it for the first time, it was like I couldn't believe that was my my story or my life.
Mm.
Very strange, which goes to show, and I talk about this in my chapter, it goes to show that I had kind of a disconnect from it because it was so traumatizing. And it's like almost like that was a coping mechanism, like a survival skill to disconnect from it. Because I was I was recently divorced, divorced 1 year when, when all of it began. I'm trying not to give away too many details of when it all began.
Yeah.
But and the other piece, and this one is pretty powerful and is meant, I don't know the words. I'll put it like this: when my mom, she died of cancer, and right before she passed away, she asked one thing of me, and I mean literally seconds before she passed away, and she asked me to stop putting everybody else first in my life, and put myself first. She's like, I'm worried about you. I want you to take care of yourself, that kind of thing. And I promised her, and it went back and forth. And I don't think I know I never did. I'm not gonna say I don't think. I know I never did, because I didn't know how, first of all. And I had kids, and I just, as a mother, I didn't know how to put myself first and not my kids. And in a strange way, being a part of this book is me finally fulfilling my promise to her. Wow. Which I just got the chills when I said it, because it's just, I didn't know how to do that either. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know if it was ever going to look like anything. I didn't know if I was going to be able to fulfill it while, I'm still here. Not to be morbid, but I didn't know how. And it's kind of like, when I don't know how to do something, there's something greater than me that orchestrates or aligns things so that it's like I fall into it, or I'm led into exactly what I didn't know how to do.
Don't you think that now you've done that process of going through the trauma, which is never the nice part, but you've literally learned so many lessons from it to enable you to be who you are sat right here now upon the launch of a book? And your mum will be looking down on you, smiling and saying you did it.
You're going to make me cry here.
But she'll be around and just going, you did it. That's all I asked of you, to put yourself forward.
Yeah. And it's I've always wanted to write a book too, but I didn't know how that was going to play out either. And you're right. It's brought up a lot of just me, just retrospect, looking back at different things just throughout my whole childhood and growing up, and then their passing, and then a lot of the questions I never got to ask of my parent, just I don't know, just questions that I was curious about, I mean, I'm okay with being completely vulnerable, but one of the things that I never quite understood was my dad was an amazing man. Everybody loved, respected him, but he never told me he loved me. And, it's just like, now that he's gone, it's like, I can't ask him clearly, why? Because he did love me, but it's just, that was kind of how it was back then. Back then, I sound like a dinosaur, but that's just what it was. He worked and my mom stayed home, and it was different. But that's something it's just kind of gone through my mind. Okay, so how did that show up in my life? So it's a lot of analyzing.
It is amazing when you go through it, though, because I went through something very similar, and how it was explained to me is the trauma that we actually go through ourselves, we'd never want our kids to go through.
Yes.
However, our kids are going to have similar questions to us because they haven't lived our early years. So we don't know what your dad went through, holding him in a pattern that he was unable to express those words. But like you said, he loved you because he probably showed it in other ways.
Yeah. And it's you're right. I wrote that in the book too. that was part of my um, I'm okay, which was not the truth. That was part of just my mask and my facade that I'm okay, I'm strong, because I never wanted my kids to see the depths of my sadness.
Mm.
And so I thought I was protecting them because I just, they were young. It was the day before my daughter started kindergarten, her first day of school, and they were 5 and 7, and I just wanted to protect them. But in the meantime, I it, it I, I don't want to give away too much, but it was not. Um, I didn't. I don't know how you grieve, but I know that whatever I did or actually did not do was not in my best interest at all,
Mm.
because I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it. I didn't. It was like they passed away, and well, yeah, they didn't pass away at the same day, so that's another. But I'll leave
So
that.
was it then with the process of the book and with everything that you've experienced, was it cathartic in a way to write it on a piece of paper?
It was, and one thing I had forgotten about, or it was just lost in the back of my mind, was when after they had passed, I remember thinking, I never ever said, why me? Like, why me? What did I do? I never went there. I just didn't. But I did promise myself that I don't know why this happened the way it happened, but I was going to use the experience to pay it forward, is what I said, and help. And of course I did, and help
Yep.
somebody, in down the road that's going through the same thing or the pain that I was going through, and um, just help them get through it, or just be a safe place for them, or safe space and place for somebody to cry, vent, whatever that looks like, all the pieces, everything that I did, you know. So
It truly is amazing, and it's inspiring to. I've read all your stories, and I can't wait for you to read. I don't know if you've read them yet. The testimonials from some of the celebrities that we shared your stories out to.
oh
Um,
no.
as you know, we obviously, for those people who are listening, we got some public figures involved in the book as well. Then we got more to read your stories, and my God, the testimonials on them are just incredible. And that's just by a few people who have done it, who want to share the book, who want to get it out. And I suppose when I ask you this question and go, okay, so we got public figures involved, we've got it on a platform that goes quite far, we're on the cusp of launching it. How are you feeling towards the launch with using your story to know that it's making an impact and helping people?
I am excited. I don't at all feel anxious or nervous or just questioning, did I write the right thing? Not at all. Like, it's done, it's got a bow on it, and it's like I'm releasing it. I'll always like treasure, the memories, but it's like, in a way, the pain has
Mm.
been released or decreased. It's it's part of being of service to other people that's helped me let go. And
Wow.
that's huge. And I attribute a lot of that to this autoimmune stuff that's in my history, because I'm not hanging on to all the just the pain and the
Yeah.
sadness. I can talk about it without getting all choked up. Now, I don't want my daughter to read it yet. Not trying to be controlling, but she's 20, and she and I are super close, and it just might be a little much, because I was pretty, Glenn, I was pretty detailed, specific,
Yeah.
you know.
But there'll be a time when you can sit down together and
Yeah,
go through those things. But
yeah,
yeah, I just want to say, like, on behalf of, and I'm sure I can speak for Kazia, like, how amazed we are that you went through the process. You loved the process, and now we're going to get you out to the world with all the effort that we're putting in and just showcasing you. And I have to thank, I'll say God, and then Dr. Joe Dispenza for
yes,
bringing you across the path.
yes,
Like, as you know, he's been on the podcast, so let's send this out to him and say, look what you did.
yes, absolutely. And just coming back from his week-long retreat, it just yeah, it's nothing that has, I mean, nothing in life, but nothing that we've talked about has transpired on accident. I know that
No.
with every fiber of my being.
Yeah,
And
there's one thing that I say. I said it on a podcast yesterday, and it was Dr. Joe Dispenza that said it to me, and then I noticed Wim Hof saying it to me. Then I noticed Les Brown saying it to me, and the one thing that they all said was, "Once you know, Glenn, you know." And I was like, "What the bloody hell are they all talking about?" And you know, like when you go on Dr. Joe Dispenza's, or when you're on this path, and you know that everything is concluding for
yeah,
your destiny or what purpose you're supposed to be on, and that's why everything's being removed out of the way, and you're being shown things, and it's time to let go. And
yeah.
it's hard. I always say physical work is hard, mental work is hard, emotional work is hard, spiritual work, my God, it's another level hard.
Right?
Don't you think? It's like
Yeah.
you have to let go of everything, and I'm 38 years old, and it's like, whoa.
Okay, I'm older than you, so yeah. Whoa, it's it is. It's a lot. But you know, if you go to a week-long advanced retreat of Dr. Joe Dispenza, you learn how to let that go. But
Yeah,
really, yeah, and truly, and I mean, this none of this would have been possible either if you and because you weren't even a part of this. If you hadn't started IPC, and don't get me started there, because I'll just praise you till I just it's been a huge blessing. It's like I found my home in a way.
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank
Well,
you.
you are always welcome.
I'm going to
That's
keep
what
you
it's for.
thinking.
That's what it's for. It's something that's clearly being led, and it was led to yourself, and it's been led to a lot of other people, and I'm just very grateful that I've been used on whatever purpose I'm here for. And I think
Yeah.
once you let go of all the external stuff,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
talk to people like you've known them for 10 years. Like we talk all the
Yeah.
time, and it feels like you're a good family friend that I've known for years. And I think that's that spiritual nature when you've removed and you don't look at titles, professions, anything.
Right.
It's just looking at the heart.
Exactly. Like all that stuff is just kind of stripped away,
Yeah.
like drop the mask,
But you'll
literally.
still get people who look at you crazy who are not on that journey yet.
Oh, absolutely. All the
So,
time. I mean, that's part of my whole entire existence. People forget, is she okay?
well, I just want to say thank you for getting involved. People are going to see a lot more of you because we're launching on November the 30th. I cannot wait. We have not got long at all, so there's going to be some things coming up. Where can people find out more information about you, Lee?
Well, you can go to my website, which is it's www.dropthemask.co. Email is leighanne@dropthemask.co.
Well, guys, I will be putting all the links up where you can find Leighanne. Keep on checking in, watch the replays. As we know, we jump on at different times of the day, so not everybody can catch you straight away. So it is filtered across all our social media platforms. Make sure you subscribe to either the podcast or the YouTube channel where you can catch all these guys. But until next time, as I often say on the podcast, keep having the hard conversations because it's the hard conversations that do truly save lives.
Absolutely.
And broad.